Imagine opening your door only to see children standing there with lifeless eyes. So I'm truly terrified of black-eyed children. Black-eyed children are paranormal creatures that are said to resemble children 6 through 16. They have pale skin and black eyes. And when a reported encounter happens, you have to actually invite them in order to be in any danger. So how did this legend even get started? Well, tabloids have been covering the tales of these sightings since the 1980s. The biggest source who was indicated to have started this on the mainstream happened in 1996, in which a Texan reporter by the name of Brian Bethel had 2 alleged encounters with black-eyed children. So Brian was sitting outside of a theater in his car in Abilene, Texas, when he got a knock on his glass window. There was 2 boys there who seemed to be around the ages of 9 and 12, and they were both wearing hooded sweatshirts. He opened the window a crack, and they asked if they could have a ride to their mothers. He described one of the boys as being olive-toned with curly hair and the other one red-headed with freckles and very pale. He stated that as they were talking, he felt a sense of dread come over him, and he told them that he wouldn't make it back in time for his movie. However, the second he said this, they pushed even harder. They started saying things like, "We're just kids, we don't have a weapon or anything," and that's when he noticed that their eyes were completely black. He told the boys no, and that's whenever they started to knock on his door harder, saying, "We can't come in unless you tell us to." He then drove away and noticed from the rearview mirror that the boys were completely gone. So this was the foundation to the black-eyed children story. But this would not even be close to the last. Go to part 2. What exactly does it mean if you dream about your teeth falling out? Dreams are filled with so many symbolic meanings, and each of them have their own message that your subconscious is trying to get across. So one of these common dreams is you might dream that you're lost somewhere or trapped or going through a maze. Having this dream means that you're ignoring some complications in your life that really need to have your full attention. Whether that be mental, financial, or what be it. Boxes are really interesting because that could mean that you're hiding a secret or that you're worried about someone else around you hiding a secret. If you have a feeling that someone's doing something shady, it might be showing up in your dream as a box. Another really common dream is if you've missed something like an opportunity, a bus, you're late to class, you're late to your first interview. This could mean that you're not pursuing something in your life that you should be doing or need to be doing. If you're falling or sinking somewhere in your dream, this could be a sign that you're completely overwhelmed with a situation that you're going through, or you feel a lack of control over something. And just overall a feeling of being overwhelmed. Teeth. I don't know about you guys, but I have nightmares about my teeth falling out all the time, which is actually a sign of insecurity, or if you're feeling unattractive in a certain situation, which makes me so sad. Rotten teeth actually indicates anxiety or fear about something, while having your teeth being pulled out means that you're holding something back and something needs to come out. If you want to know about nudity, roads, flowers, mud, being chased, I'm going to talk about all of that on my Instagram reels.
So last time that you guys probably saw me, I was extremely sick with allergies. This time I'm not as sick, but I definitely am still really stuffy. But I am excited to announce that I'm going to be trying to post twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I'm super excited. I feel like it's been a long time coming, and I feel like I used to post a lot more on YouTube, and the once a week thing has just been not as frequent as I would like to be posting. I'm going to get my legs waxed today, super scared for that. Our house is finally back up on the market for people to look at for rent and stuff like that. So I'm super excited because we are going to be in Florida super soon. I'm excited. But without further ado, I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so quick little rundown before we get into today's story time. For most of the video, I will be looking... Okay, for most of this story time, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, feel free to exit out of the video. And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay. Now I can get into today's story time. Okay, so story time about why you should never go on spring break to Miami with your best friends. I thought we all had already learned this from all of the TikToks we've seen about best friends never coming back from Miami, best friends. But you know what? Here we are with another, what should we call this? Lesson on why you should not take trips with your best friends to Miami. Okay, so a little background information. I was 20 years old and I was a sophomore in college, and I went to a pretty big school. So thankfully I was able to get an apartment off campus. with some girls that I had became friends with. That being said, we had known each other, you know, not too long, but long enough to the point where we thought that we could trust each other, considering we all lived together. Well, after Christmas break, my one friend Sid mentioned that spring break was going to be here before we knew it, so we should all take a trip together. My eyebrows look botched right now, so let's please ignore that, even though I'm probably not going to try and fix them. Specifically, a trip down to Florida. We all thought that it was a smart idea because we're best friends. We always have a good time together. This would be awesome. This part of the story may get a little confusing, so just try to keep up. So out of 5 of us girls who lived in the apartment, only 4 of us were going. The one girl had already made plans with her family, and she also wasn't a super social person in general. The only reason why she moved in with us was so that way we had an extra person paying $300 a month. And not to be a bitch, but I don't think we would even notice if she came with us. Anyways, so the other 3 girls who were coming with me down to Florida were Sid, who was very manipulative, and she also just happened to be a complete bitch 24/7. And I'm not just saying like she had an attitude like a bitch. No, like she was a bully. Like the other girl who lives with us, she will bully her into doing anything for her 24/7, whether it's driving her somewhere, getting her alcohol, just that kind of stuff. But with that being said, the other girl who was coming was Mary. Mary, aka Sydney's bitch. She was extremely sweet and would never say no to anything you wanted her to do. The last girl, Leah, was extremely psychotic, and her whole personality basically revolved around being drunk 24/7. And she was that girl that was like, I'm one of the guys. I really feel like I don't have to explain what kind of girl that is, because we should all know that kind of girl by now. Like, it's 2022. If you haven't met one of these, where have you been? But other than that, Leah was kind of cool. Now that you know the whole squad, since Sydney came up with this idea, she was in charge of coming up with the budget, right? To make sure that everybody had enough money to last them the full 4 days, everything went smoothly, and yeah. Well, after coming up with the budget and everything, she figured out that for 4 days, we would all need $1,200. With that, she also thankfully planned where we would eat each day and stuff like that, you know. So that means that I would at least have to put away $100 a week if I had any plans on going on this trip. So, like the boss-ass bitches that we started saving up ASAP, and 2 months later, we had all the money to go on this trip. It was really easy for Sid to get the money because all she had to do was call up daddy and say, hey daddy, I'm going on a trip to Miami and I need some money. I'm not being a hater, but you'll see why I'm being a hater. So we all had our tickets, the hotel was booked, and now all we had to do was eat cheap and use our looks for drinks and make sure that we don't go broke before the end of this trip. Sounds easy enough, right? Wrong. Once we landed in Florida, everything was pretty good. The food was crazy. The hotel was easy access. There were hot guys literally all over the beach. Pin everywhere. So I was living my best life. So as soon as we got to the hotel, we put our skimpy ass 2-piece bikinis on and literally bolted to the beach. It was just how people explained it was in the movies. There was beautiful music. There was a shit ton of alcohol, so Leah was basically in heaven. And because of how everything went the first day, I thought this trip was honestly going to be a blast and pretty much nothing could go wrong. But then what happens? Something goes wrong. So the first day was a pretty long day. We were at the beach pretty much the whole freaking day. So we woke up the next morning and we went to breakfast and I went to pay and $700 is missing out of my wallet. Yes, $700, which is more than half of the money that I brought. Not to mention, I also pitched in on food and everything the first day to keep at the hotel. So instead of asking everybody where my money went, I waited until we got home so that way I could go through all of my stuff, go through the hotel to make sure it didn't fall out of my wallet, even though I knew it didn't. I just didn't want to be that bitch who accuses everybody and then finds her shit later. How nice of me. At first I thought it could have been Sid or Lee Leah, but when I asked them, their story checked out, so I did not think that it was them. So I have the hotel check the cameras and make sure that nobody came in our room while we were sleeping, and that all checked out. So at this point, I just assumed that maybe I blacked out and dropped my money last night. But then after Sid and Leah left, I started to panic again, and I rummaged through everybody's shit. While I'm doing that, Mary comes in and she's like, are you looking for your money? And at this point, I'm pissed, and I'm like, yeah, did you fucking take it? And she's like, no, chill. I was only asking because Sid and Leah went into your purse last night, took your wallet, and took your money. And I'm like, Leah, this is not time for fucking jokes. I've just been robbed. And honestly, I thought that it was Mary because, like I said, Leah and Sid's stories checked out. So she told me that she was the last one to come into the hotel last night, which does check out because on the cameras, they let me watch them. And she said that when she walked in, Sid and Leah walked out of mine and Mary's room. And when she asked what they were doing, they said, oh, we were just making sure that I'm okay because I got too drunk. Okay. Sure. And they went out onto the balcony, and on the balcony you can literally hear everything. So while Mary was in the kitchen putting stuff away, she hears Sydney and Leah talking about splitting the money. So at this point, I'm pissed. I'm ready to snap on everybody, but eventually Mary talks me out of it, and she's like, listen, let's just come up with a plan, you know, we'll get it all figured out. So Mary and I went to lunch. She paid for my lunch, thankfully, and we got to talking, and we came up with a plan to fuck up their whole trip just like they did for me. But before we did this, we made sure that we had everything organized, because after this, I'm pretty sure there were going to be no apologies, and there weren't. At one point, we even thought about backing out because we all did live in the same house back at home, so this would have caused some mayhem. But at the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck, because for Sid, whose parents are literally millionaires, to steal from me, knowing that I'm at school only on a scholarship and then I'm barely making ends meet in general, makes me sick. I mean, even though I knew that she was a manipulative bitch, I didn't think she was gonna be one to me. Like, girl, your dad has millions of dollars. Why are you gonna steal from me? I'm poor. Okay. Well, once we set the plan in motion, we started out by saying we were going to go out to a fancy dinner. We got some drinks so that way everybody could loosen up. And after that, I told them that we had a section at a Miami club. And at this point, they were a little sus because they knew that they took my wallet and they didn't know how I was affording this. So at that point, I just tell them, oh, I met some guys at the beach who said that they had a section and they would get us one that was right next to them. Some bullshit story, of course. And they were more than happy to go to the club and spend my fucking money. Sid was like, OMG, like, this is one of the best clubs. Like, I'm so excited. Like, of course you are, you fucking snake. Respectfully, I wanted to tell her to shut the fuck up and shove all of her compliments up her ass, because at that point, she was literally kissing my ass. Her and Leah. So once we get to the club, we get showed to our section. And once we were in the section, this is where the real plan kicked in. Okay? I told all the girlies, aka Sid and Leah, that this was on me, my treat to them for being such wonderful friends. I was super condescending, so I don't know how they didn't, like, get an off vibe from me, because I was throwing some attitude their way. Well, since Mary and I had paid for the dinner, and I told them everything was going to be on me today, they didn't think once to check their wallets. So I had Mary go and take their wallets, or not their whole wallets, they wouldn't have noticed. I had her go in and take their cards, okay? So before they're able to run their cards and see that they're absolutely broke and cannot pay for the $15,000 that we racked up that night, and who knows what they racked up after we left, Mary and I dipped. we were not gonna stay for the aftermath. So Mary and I, we get into our Uber. We are ready to go to the airport, luggage and everything. And we just told Sid and Leah that we were gonna go and meet some boys. And I don't know how they didn't see that as a red flag either, because first of all, they know that Mary would never go and meet boys that we had just met. And me, on the other hand, I just would never leave my friends for some dick. Well, once Mary and I left, we noticed that we had a fuck ton of calls from both Sydney and Leah, but at that point we just decided not to answer the phone. Like, after this shit that they pulled, like, I was completely done with them. After that, Mary and I were able to kick Sid out of the apartment because Mary was like the primary, I guess, on the lease. I don't know, something like that, whatever. Leah just decided to move out at that point because her only friend now was Sid, and she was the only one who would put up with her bullshit. So apparently Sid had to call her dad to pay for this tab, and instead of going to Spain for the summer, she has to work for her dad the whole summer to pay him back, as she should. So I guess Sid was pissed off that Leah didn't have to pay anything. She didn't get into any trouble, so her and Leah aren't friends anymore. Sid posted some pictures of Leah online with red cups and doing coke. So I don't know what the hell happened with those two, but all I know is they are not friends anymore. So moral of the story, don't go to Miami with your best friend. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's video. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you haven't heard already, I'm doing a big giveaway. I will be giving away every single one of these Foreo products to individual people, and all you gotta do to enter this giveaway is repost this YouTube video. I will be announcing the winners during the first and second week of April. If you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the link down below, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, everybody, happy Saturday. I have not posted for almost 2 weeks, I feel like, because I woke up, I want to say the day after my last video with this. Yes, this. I was literally half swollen shut. And this is what it looked like underneath my eye when I decided to check what it was. It was a sty that just so happened to last a week. It's actually still kind of there. This eye is super swollen. Popped a blood vessel, I'm pretty sure, you know. It's just a shit show. But I'm happy to be back and film another video for you guys. Okay, so before we get into today's story time, just my quick little usual rundown. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, and if you don't like that, then you can leave. And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. So I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school. And I guess we could say that I was popular. I mean, I personally wouldn't say that about myself, but you know, that's what everybody else said. And I have two best friends who we are going to call Ariana and Tammy. We've all been best friends since I was about 4, I want to say. We all grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same preschool, you know. Pretty cliche. Well, Tammy has an older brother who Ariana and I both find extremely attractive. Like, and we made this pact whenever we were in 7th grade that nobody would try and get with her brother, her older brother.
It says, please do not touch the gumballs. Why are they there then?
Well, that would have been the plan, I guess, until my sophomore year of high school, when I guess I had this, you know, extreme glow up physically, and he starts flirting with me every time that I go over her house. Now, I tried to keep my cool at first, I really did, but I ended up being more into him than I should have been, and I decided that I wanted to lose my virginity to him. I don't know how you sit there and decide, oh my god, I want that person to be my first. I mean, I guess I like understand it, but I also don't at the same time. I feel like when it happens, it happens. Anyways, back to the story. Now, I had done things with people before, but I had never gone all the way. Well, the one day, Tammy, Ariana, and I were all hanging out, and we all got super drunk, and I went behind her back. Whoopsies. Not really, like, I wanted to do this. I didn't care if she found out or not. But I went behind her back and I texted her brother and I was like, oh my god, I'm so bored down here, like, we should do something, like, they're about to fall asleep, you know? So he was like, okay, well, you should come up to my room. I was like, okay. So I went up to his room. It was super awkward at first. We started talking, and then the next thing I know, my drunk ass was throwing myself on him. But apparently he cared more about his sister's feelings than I did, which is pretty bad. So he was like, okay, like, if we're gonna do anything, we need to go to your house because I'm not gonna do that with my sister in the house. You know, I don't want her finding out. And at this point, I was in full beer goggle effect, and I literally just wanted some dick. So, we walked to my house, which was literally 3 minutes down the street, so, you know, it wasn't too bad. And we went to my room, and I had, like, one of those rooms that was, like, over the garage. I forget what those are called, but yeah, it was like that, you know? So it was, like, not really attached to the house. I would go up in the garage to get to my room. So, you know, we start to get into the mood, we start doing stuff, and right as he pulls the condom out, my dad calls for my name. He's like yelling my name. So I ran over to the door, I locked the door, and I'm not gonna lie, it was like probably 4 in the morning, and my dad gets up really early for work, so he takes the dog out, he goes to the garage, warms his car up. His work's like an hour away. So this was pretty normal. It wasn't just like out of the blue that my dad did that, but I thought that it was like 2 in the morning. So I ran to the door, I locked it just in case he came upstairs. I looked at James and I was like, you gotta go. Like, you need to leave now.
You need to leave.
He's looking at me like, where the fuck do you want me to go? That's when I tell him to let himself out of the window. You can go now. So James hops out the back window, like the window that's in the back of my garage, and he's running his little scrawny ass through my yard to the street in his Bugs Bunny boxers. Cute. Well, my dad ended up seeing him, so I forgot that there was like a window in the back of my garage. So, you know, here's the garage, here's my room, okay? He is running out of my room, he jumps down, and there just happens to be a window. Right there, right there. So yeah, no, my dad saw him jump out, but he didn't see who it was. So I was very thankful at that, because not only were Tammy and I best friends, but my parents were also best friends with her parents. So you can see how that could have went terribly. So after I get my clothes on, I walk out of my room and I just sit there and stare at my dad. And he's like, you better have all your chores done in the morning. And then he leaves. I was like, oh, okay. Period. You know. So anyways, fast forward a month. Yes, a month. It is the Friday Night Lights. If y'all don't know what that means, it's pretty much just a football game. Well, fast forward, I am at the game, and I see James, who I really haven't talked to since that whole jumping out of my window, running down the street with his boxers on thing happened. Well, I decided to go up and talk to him, and to be honest, he wasn't really mad at the situation. He thought it was hilarious, and he was being his flirty self again, which I was super happy about because I thought I ruined my chances, to be honest. And there was really no awkwardness between us. So at that point, I'm like, hey, like, I know this little spot behind the bleachers. If we want to, you know, finish what we started, Ooh. And I thought this was perfect because Tammy was on the cheer squad, so she had no business going behind the bleachers. So we get there and all is going super well at this time, you know. And then we realized that everybody could see us behind the bleachers. So we went into this old concession stand that nobody goes into, literally nobody. Like, the window of the back of it was broken and stuff like that. So we crawled through the window, and all was good, right? Wrong. Somebody comes banging on the concession stand door right as we are about to pick up the pace. Yeah, of course. Of course. So now we are both scrambling to get our clothes back on. So pretty much at this point, I'm like pissing myself because one of my lights just went off. Ignore it. I know the lighting isn't as good as it was before. Just ignore it. So like I said, at this point, I'm shitting myself because nobody comes in here. Literally nobody. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, every game that I've came to, I've always looked at like this concession stand. It's empty. Who would be knocking on the door? That, mind you, is literally boarded up. So we try to go back out the window. After we get our clothes on, and the window is like, the glass was like on the bottom of the window, so we were literally gonna get cut the fuck up. So we just decided that time to open the door, duck under the board, and we both bolt it. And the guy didn't even try to run after us, thank God. But this is now the second time in a row where we have been interrupted. What the fuck is next? I don't even want to know. Don't tell me. So after that, you know, leave the game, go home, and I text James and I'm like, hey, like, I don't know if you still want to do this, but I want to try to do it again. Like, I am really attracted to you. And he's like, sorry, I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Emotional, damn it.
So at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm ugly as fuck. Like, I am so freaking upset because what do you mean it's not gonna happen? Like, the last 2 times you were down, like, you were red tea. Like, both of you were ready, if you get what I mean. So at that point, I literally do not text him at all. But the Friday after, I end up going to Tammy's house and I end up telling Tammy what happened. I'm like, hey sis, so the past like 2 months, I'm not gonna lie, I've been trying to fuck your brother. And she said she knows. I told her I'm like, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to follow the pack. Like, it's not happening. And she thought it was actually really funny. So she was like, just promise me that you won't get hurt or you guys won't get into a relationship. She was like, you know, because I don't want to have to choose somebody over somebody. She was like, it just wouldn't be good. So I'm like, okay, I promise, da-da-da. So then, Saturday, Tammy has to go to a dentist appointment, so I just hang around her house. And James comes into Tammy's room, and he's like, hey, like, you know, I'm sorry about what happened. And I was like, well, I told Tammy, so we can get down to business, or you can just, like, be a lame ass bitch.